Aleph. We have something that we just mentioned. We said that Yadayim, you have to wash your hands before you touch Truma. What's the reason for that? We said Yadayim Askanisin. Because the hands, they touch, they're always active. They touch this, they touch that. Rashi said, so they could touch a dirty place, maybe on the body, and that's not respectful for Truma. So therefore, in order not to make Truma disgusting, so you wash your hands before. Rashi then quotes Rabbi Seinu that says, no, the hands could have touched Tumah. Rashi has several questions on his teachers, and he says, what's going on? If they actually touched Tumah, then he's not a Shlishi, it's not Paisel Truma. Could be it makes it a Sheni. Or maybe, maybe the person becomes a Rishon, which makes it Truma Sheni. It's much more serious than that, and that means that it can give the Tumah over to another level. And why just his hands are tummy? If you touch Tumah, it doesn't go on your hand. The whole body becomes tummy. And if he's really tummy, you can't wash your hands. You have to go to the mikveh. Or you can't just wash your hands. You have to maybe dip your hands. That's what we're going to see later. Okay, whatever the case is, Rashi doesn't accept his teacher's pshat. He says it just has to do, the reason why I wash your hands is because hands get dirty. And it's not respectful for Truma. It doesn't have to do with spiritual impurity. Tana. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The last word, 7 lines from the bottom. Tana was taught in the Brayso Afidayim Abayis Machma Sefer Paisel Sisa Truma. We learned that hands that touch a sefer, like a Sefer Torah or one of the Svarim, that also pasels Truma. If you then touch Truma, it becomes pasel. Pasel means that it becomes tummy in a way that it doesn't give off the Tumah to anything else. Just it becomes tummy. Mishum de Rav Parnach, because of something that Rav Parnach said. Amar Rav Parnach, Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Rav Parnach says, name of Rabbi Yechanan, Hoicha Sefer Torah Arum. Someone that holds the Sefer Torah unclothed, Nikvar Arum. He is buried naked. The Gemara says, Arum Sal Kadaitach. Do you really think that, I guess it means that he's buried naked? Ella Amar Abzeira Arum B'lei Mitzvahs. He's buried without clothing. Clothing is referring to mitzvahs. Like in Tanya, the Levushim. B'lei Mitzvahs Al Kadaitach, he has no mitzvahs. He did mitzvahs. What's the problem? The one time he touched the Sefer Torah. Ella Ema Arum B'lei Oiseh Mitzvah. He doesn't have that mitzvah of what he did while he was holding the Sefer Torah, I guess the Limud Torah, for that time. Now, what we're referring to here is not that the person is naked. We're talking about that he touched the Sefer Torah without a cloth in between his hands and the Sefer Torah. That's why when you get an aliyah, you're careful not to touch the actual text. You use the gartel or your talis to touch. So, otherwise the schus, according to this Gemara, the schus doesn't go. You don't get the schus of that mitzvah. So what are we seeing over here? That you need a cloth in between the Sefer Torah and your hands. Gemara asks, "Hey Gazer Bereisha." So we have the question here is. The question here is like this. I now have 2 reasons why I need to clean my hands before I touch Truma. One is because hands you have to wash in general. One is because hands that touch the sefer, you have to wash them before you touch truma. Question is, which one came first? The Gemara, we'll try it and we'll see how it fits. Eily ma hagazer b'reisha. Any hand you always have to touch. You always have to wash. Any hand you always have to wash before you touch truma. The Gemara asks a question. 1 second. Given the hagazer b'reisha hasalamali. If you always have to wash your hands, so why do you have to wash your hands after you touch a sefer? You wash your hands anyway. So Ella hach gazer b'reisha v'hada gazer l'b'kol yadayim. Really, it's the other way. First, there was a decree that you have to wash your hands if you touch the sefer. Then there was before you touch truma. Then there was a decree that all hands have to be washed. Okay. So the decree that you wash your hands after touching a sefer was a way of getting you not to touch the sefer. Okay, that way you would always use a cloth. So that was the first decree. Then they made a decree that all hands need to be washed before you touch truma. The Gemara is going to ask on that later. Okay. Tvul Yomi. We said one of these 18 things that were decreed in the attic of Hanani ben Chizkiah ben Goran, that Beishamai overruled Beis Hillel, was that a Tvul Yomi passes truma. Tvul Yomi, someone that went to the mikveh, but he didn't wait for nightfall. If he touches truma, that truma becomes a shlishi, which doesn't pass on any further. The Gemara asks, what are you talking about? That's a decree from that it says in the psukim that a person is tamei until the sun sets, after the mikveh till the sun sets. The sun sets and he becomes pure. The Gemara says, okay, Sami mikan tvul yomi, you got me. That one we have to take out. That's not one of these. Erase it. That's not one of the discussions. Shammai and Hillel, that came much earlier. That's from the Torah. Food that became tamei because of liquid. That was, number 9 on the list. It says mashkin demai. What type of liquid is making this food tamei? If you say that the liquid touched the sheretz, so then deraisa. That sheretz is an avatama. Touches liquid becomes a rishon.
I think you should put mute for everybody else.
Okay. If you want to say something, just do unmute. And then. Okay. So the sheretz is a avatama. Then the liquid becomes a rishon, touches truma, right? Eichlin shenitba b'mashkin. The touches the mashkin is a rishon. The eichlin is now a sheni. We're talking about this eichlin. Oh, so 1 second. Why are you telling me that this is a decree of Shammai and Hillel? It's a regular deraisa. Any liquid that you drink, and from this the Gemara learns that the order of Tumah. The Gemara says rather, it's not liquid that's really tamei min haTorah. This liquid did not touch a sheretz. This liquid touched someone's hands. There's a decree on this liquid. Now this liquid touches truma, it makes it possible. This liquid becomes a sheni. just because of touching hands. Even the hands weren't tamei. And because, why did they make this gzeira that liquid becomes tamei? Because it's a gzeira because of liquid that touches the sheretz. We do find real liquid that's tamei if it touches the sheretz. So we also made this liquid that touches your hands tamei. Okay. Rashi asks over here, why did we only make liquid tamei? Food that touches the sheretz also becomes tamei. So you say if you touch food, it should become tamei also. Why just liquid? So Rashi answers, because food doesn't automatically become tamei. Food needs hechsher lekabel tamei. It has to get wet first. Liquid automatically becomes tamei if you touch it. So it's much easier to become tamei. So because of that, they made a gzeira on liquid, that liquid becomes tamei automatically with touching. Okay, Rashi then translates the word hechsher. He says, kol hechsher shebashas lashon tikkun. Tikkun means preparedness. It needs to be prepared before it becomes tamei. That's the difference, food and liquid. Now we say v'hakelim shenitmu b'mashkin. This is the last point that we had. That vessels that touch liquid, those vessels become tamei. And they become tamei to the extent that they'll make truma tamei. They'll make truma pasul, rather. So the Gemara asks, Kelim ditmu b'mashkin demai. What type of liquid are they touching? These vessels, these utensils that they're becoming tamei. Eily b'mashkin dezav. If you say that it's fluids that come out of a zav, someone that's tamei minatera, they're isinino. So then those fluids make the vessel tamei midiraisa. The ksiv betar masha biyad tar tmeisilach. We have a pasuk that says if the zav will spit on the tar, I mean something that the tar is holding becomes tamei. Ela b'mashkin habayim machmas sheretz. We're talking about liquid that touched the sheretz, and that liquid cannot make a vessel tamei, because that liquid becomes a rishon. A rishon can only make food tamei, not a vessel tamei. We have a gzeira that liquid can now make a vessel tamei as well. So in other words, really an avatama can make a person tamei or a vessel tamei. That person or vessel then becomes a rishon latama. That person or vessel can make food or drink tamei. But if food or drink touch avatama, then the food or drink becomes a rishon latama. A rishon can't make a person or vessel. But here there's a gzeira that it does, this liquid. Gzeira mishmashkin desav. Because there is a type of liquid that could actually make a person tamei, which is mashkin dezav, fluids that come out of a zav. So that's considered an avatama. So there is another liquid that's similar to that. That's mashkin that touches a sheretz, that we have a gezeira that it makes the vessel tamei. Okay, we've explained every step of the brisa that we quoted. It was a Mishnah that we quoted, Eily paisel mesachuma. We just went through that. Now the Gemara goes back to challenge this whole thing. It says, V'yadayim talmidei Shammai v'Hillel gazer. You said that this was a meeting that took place in the attic of Hanani ben Chizkiya ben Geren, and Beis Shammai overpowered Beis Hillel in numbers. Now, Beis Hillel means that it's the students of Shammai and Hillel. So you're saying Talmidei and Shammai and Hillel made this decree that hands are tamei. What are you talking about? Shammai v'Hillel gazer. This was a decree of Shammai and Hillel themselves. Titania. We have a brisa. Yesi ben Yezer Shreida v'Yesi ben Yechon Ish Yerushalayim. These are two of the zugais. Zugais are Tanaim that are before the Tanaim. So let's say the Tanaim start with Hillel and Shammai. This precedes Hillel and Shammai. There was Shmai and Naftalian, and then before them was Nitar Eily and Shimon ben Shatach, and before that was Yossi ben Yezer and Yossi ben Yechon. They were well before this, and they made a decree. They said, we'll see exactly if it's the air or the land. They made a decree that the land of the nations is tamei. Why? Because the nations didn't, outside the land of Israel, they didn't mark their graves. They just buried, and it wasn't specifically in a cemetery. So they said everything was tamei. And also kli zechuchas. Kli zechuchas, glass utensils, wasn't considered a utensil until they made this decree on it. Shimon ben Shatach, what did he do? Tikkun ksuba liisha. He made a decree that the woman needs to get a ksuba, but more than that, that if divorce, all the person's property is like there's a lien on it towards the payment of the divorce. Because al kli zechuchas. What's he adding there? The Gemara is going to explain that later. And he also put a decree on kli mateches, on metal utensils. The Gemara is going to explain. Okay, so and then it says Shammai v'Hillel gazru tuma ala yadayim. Here's our question. Our main point of this quoting this was to say that it's not Talmidei Shammai v'Hillel, but it's Shammai and Hillel themselves, that they made a decree on the hands that the hands are tamei. You have to wash the hands. Maybe you can answer like this. Shammai v'siyati, Hillel v'siyati. It means Shammai and his chevra. Hillel and his support, which means the students. 1 second. Maybe that's a good answer. The Gemara says, well, Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel. No, you can't say that. Rav Yehuda says the name of Shmuel. Yudchas davar gazru. There were 18 things that were decreed. And there were 18 things that they argued about. Now...
But now it sounds like there was only 17 because they took one out.
So when it says 18, when we were looking for the list of what they were, so we found 9 or 10 in a Mishnah that Elu Paislam es Truma, and in that list, one of them was Tvul Yaim. Now we've covered. We need 18. So we found the list of things that Pasal Truma, and we're hoping that list will fill up the 18. Turns out that one of them doesn't count. So it didn't say specifically that was what the Shammai, the Hillel decreed, and then we lost one. It says we're looking for what were those 18. So as we're down one, we need to keep looking. But there were 18 things. Now, the way that Rashi learns this is that they made a decree on 18 things. And on 18 things they argued about. Rashi learns, those 18 things that they made a decree was really a machlekes. It started off as a machlekes. So in other words, you don't have 36, you have 18. Other Rishonim learn differently. But they made a decree about 18 things. But Hillel and Shammai only argued in 3 places. So if you say that this was Hillel and Shammai together with them, we just said we called it Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel. 1 second, you can't mix Hillel and Shammai into this, because Hillel and Shammai themselves only argued about 3 things which we know of. So this can only be specifically the Talmidei Hillel v'Shammai in the Yud Ches. Now, the Rav Huna, there's only 3 things, and which takes out the hands, because that was a decree that they agreed to. Maybe you can answer. Also in a gazru litlais, vasa talmidayo begazru lisreif. Maybe Hillel and Shammai made a first degree that the hands, if they touch truma, then you don't burn the truma, but you leave it. You don't eat it. It's called litlais. You leave it in limbo. But the Talmidim came and they said, no, it's mamish tami. They made the gzeira. Okay, that could be an answer. But Ilfa taught. Ilfa, I think, was a friend of Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, he was the one that went to work. Ilfa and Rabbi Yochanan. Remember, they heard a voice that said, let's knock over this wall or something on these two people. They're leaving Torah. Rabbi Yochanan turned still. He said, did you hear anything? He says, no. So he said, it must be meant for me. And he went back to the yeshiva. Then Ilfa said that he was a big Talmid Chacham. He said, if he can't show any source of a Brisa in the Mishnah, if he can't show a source of the Brisas in a support from a Mishnah, he'll throw himself into the sea. That was Ilfa. What does Ilfa say? Yadayim tchilas gzeirasan l'sreifa. Can't give that answer that there were two steps to this decree, because the original decree on Yadayim was that you burn it. So how do we have this? That we have Hillel and Shammai made the decree. Then you said that it was a machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Ella asu inu gazru v'lei kibla minei. V'asa talmidayu gazru v'kibla minei. The decree was made twice. The first time it didn't work. Wasn't accepted. And then the Talmidim came and it was accepted. The Gemara asks, 1 second. This is a lot more historical than you're making it. You're taking it back to what's Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. It's a little bit before the Churban. So it goes way back. It goes back to the Bayis Rishon. Vakati Shleima Gazer. Dam Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel b'shashatikim Shleima Erevin until Sidayim. Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel, that when Shlomo Melech instituted Erevin means that you can't carry from your house to someone else's house, from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah, unless you make an Erev Chatzeris, unless you join together in one meal. And he instituted also Netilas Yadayim. It means that you have to wash your hands before you touch Truma. And at that time, when Shlomo instituted this, Yotze Baskal, a heavenly voice comes out from a B'ni, my son, Im Chacham Libcha, Yismach Libi Gamani. If your heart is wise, my heart will also rejoice. Chacham B'ni, another pasuk. My son is wise, V'samach Libi, my heart rejoices. Vashiva Chorfi Davar, and I will return to the those that attack me, those that mock me, something. Okay, so the question is, we see that this was instituted well before Talmidei Hillel v'Shammai. This goes back to the days of Shlomo Melech. What was Shlomo doing? The pasuk of the day Rashi brings that Izin v'chiker Shasa aznayim l'Torah. He made a handle to the Torah, which means something distancing, so that things shouldn't become tameh. So he had them wash the hands. So the Gemara answers, Shleima gaz l'kadshim. Shleima's decree was for karbanos. V'seinu v'gaz raf l'truma. And they made a decree that applies even to truma. It means just regular grain that was separated to be given to the kayan, which is truma, also holy, but it's a step removed from kachim. So he had the first decree that was on kachim regarding hands, and then there was another decree for truma. There's a word from the Katzka that it's very appropriate. That what's the big chachma? He said, wash your hands. What's the big deal? He says, no. The big chachma was like this, because he instituted Erevin. And Erevin means that all of Klal Yisrael could become one, become all one family. That means that everyone's living in their house, but it's not separate houses. They're all become one. They all give food. Everyone is one at the same level. Then he instituted Netilas Yadayim. which says that some people are a chaver, some people wash their hands, some people keep tara, some people don't keep tara. Give different standards there's different standards. So the big chachma is to be together with people as one family and to keep your own standards. That was the chacham b'ni yismach libi, im chacham livcha yismach libi gaman. Was the great chachma. So the
as far as Hillel and Shammai,
yeah,
he did do the gzera. We're finishing with this, that they did do the gzera, but it wasn't accepted until the Talmidei Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel made the gzera.
right. Then we said that there was a gzera before, but that was only on kachim. Yeah. Okay, Gufa. We learned before. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. We stated right here that Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel that Yud Ches Gaz, Rabbi Yud Ches Nechleko. That in 18 things was a decree. In 18 things they argued. Rashi said that it was the same things. But Tanya Hushvu, but the Brisa says that they agreed. The Gemara answers, Boy Bayayim Nechleko Ulamachar Hushvu. They argued that day. I guess that day means in the Aliyah. Yitchas Tvarim Gazru Boy Bayayim. Gazru. So it's interesting. We'll have to adjust. What the Mishnah means, it means that the Gezerah was done in the following day. It's interesting. Now, Ramesha, Taisvus over here, there's a small Taisvus Yeshanim. Taisvus gives an option of avoiding that teretz. It says that it's now that we have another Netilas Yadayim, so Ilfa's statement that the original decree of Netilas Yadayim was for Sreifa, that could go on Shlomo Melech's Netilas Yadayim. That was for Kachim. And now we can say that the decree of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel was, one was Litleis, another one was Lisreif. That's Taisus Yeshanim gives that option. Now, how do you do that? If you say, is there an Ella here? No, it's not an Ella. Usually what happens is, when the Gemara uses Ella, it's retracting an old answer. It's taking off an answer. If there's no Ella, then you sort of keep that answer, and you just continue on with the Gemara. But Ella, sometimes, let's say the Gemara gave several answers. So Ella sets you back, but you don't know which answer which one you're going back to. So here we don't have an Ella, so, but nevertheless, that's the Taisus Yeshanim. You see that Taf Yud on the little Taisus? Taf Yud, that's Taisus Yeshanim. Okay, Gufa, we start before. Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna said that Begimel Mekayim Nechleku Shammai v'Hillel. There's three arguments that Shammai and Hillel argued about, which means Shammai themselves, Shammai himself and Hillel himself, not the Beis Shammai. Okay, one of them you know from Nida. That's going to be our third one. But the other ones are Shammai Yaimer, Mikav, Chala. That when do you take Chala if you have a Kav? That's when you take Chala. And Hillel Mikabayim. No, 1 second. Something's wrong there. Okay, let's. You take challah from a kav, and the kav is 4 lug. Okay, Hill says no kabayim. Two kav is chayav and challah. Chachamim like a divrizeh, like a divrizeh. It's not like this one, not like that one. Machlekes is based on the amount of man that they got in the desert. They got an asira se'ifa, And if you do the calculations, it would come out to that they had a meal in the morning, a meal in the evening. From that asir sefer, from that tent, you divide it in half, it would be a kav for each. The chum say a kav chayav b'chala. It's really a kav and a half. Mishagdilo amidas, but the measurements did not stay the same, and they enlarged the measurements. In Amru, they said, chameshes ruvoyim kema chayavim b'chala. 5 quarters. It means if a kav is 4 lug, so that's an easy one because it's already 4 lug. So then it would be 5 lug, would be 5 quarters. 5 quarters is chayav and chala. Rabbi Yossi Omer heipturin. Actually, 5 is still exempt. It's heva oid. It's 5 plus a little bit. That's what's going to be chayav. Okay, that's the first machlekes that we said is machlekes Shammai and Hillel. Beidach, another machlekes that's Shammai and Hillel themselves. Hillel leimer malay hin mayim shuvim paislam as a mikvah. A hin is 12 lug, a certain amount of water. When it's a mikvah needs to be naturally collected. You can't take it in a vessel and then pour it into a mikvah. So, but if you do pour a little bit of water, the mikvah is still kosher. But if you pour a lot, then it's going to be possible. Once you have a mikvah for Disa, it never becomes possible. But while you're making it, it could passel the mikvah. So Hillel says a hin of mayim shuvim passels a mikvah. And why did he say a hin? He could have used how many lug? Shechayiv adam leimer b'lashon Rabbi, because you have to say it in this way your teacher said it, which is Shmaya Naftalian. Hillel's a Talmud of Shmaya Naftalian, and that's how they said it. The hin is 12 lug, right? Shammai Yomer Tisha Kabin. Shammai says it's 9 kav. 9 kav. 4 lug was 36 lug. The Chacham say, Shammai over here comes out lenient. It's more water is required to passel a mikvah. Now, the Chacham say, it's not like this, not like that. Ad shabo beis gardiim mishara ashpa shabishlayim veidu. These, what are gardiim? Weavers. Mesechtas Idias. It says it discusses their craft, and they testified mishum shmai v'avtalian that how much water is required to passel a mikvah. 3 lug. 3 lug passels a mikvah, and the Chachamim accepted their opinion. Okay, we have our second case of a machlekes Hillel and Shammai.
Is this Shar HaAshbais that we go through to?
Yeah.
Is this the same place?
So, yeah. Takes you to Yer David. Or...
Yeah, no. I didn't know this was as old as that.
Okay, Shammai Yomer. I think so. Shammai Yomer. Shammai says, Kol Anashim Dayan Shaitan. This is another one just we're familiar with from Nida, that a woman becomes Tamei. Shammai says she's not Tamei L'Mafreya. She's only Tamei from the time she finds the blood. She finds a stain. Hill says no. The tumah goes back till the last time she did an examination. We don't know in between the last time and now. Could be it was there, the Beis HaChitzon, inside her body. Even if it's many days. It's not like Shammai, it's not like Hillel. It depends. 24 hours will take you back, and 24 hours will make you tamei, but that's if the examination was before 24 hours. If there was an examination within 24 hours, then you'll only be tamei from the examination. The Gemara asks, "V'suleka, you have no other machlekes in Shammai and Hill. You have others. Hill I'm lismech, v'Shammai I'm lismech. What about the famous machlekes in Masechtas Chagiga about do you do smicha on a carbon? Do you lean on a carbon that's brought on Yom Tov? But it's machlekes that take 6 generations. Each Hill said this, and Yossi ben Yezer and Yossi ben Yechon. It goes to all the zugais. Everyone was arguing about it. So the Gemara explains, Kikam Rav Huna, when did Rav Huna say the machlekes is only about 3 things? If there's no major machlekes there between other rabbanim, but over there that was a machlekes between everyone. The Gemara says, 1 second. Someone picks grapes, and he's picking them because he wants to make wine. So there's a little bit of liquid that comes out, and it's going to end up going into the vat. Does he want that liquid? Is that liquid good for him? The question is it considered meiperis? Is it considered wine? Fruit juice is not considered a liquid. So Shammai says that no, it's considered hochsher lekabel tama, and Hill loy hochsher. And Hill says it's not hochsher. It's not prepared to become tamei. It's not considered wet from wine. Gemara says bar minei dahi. You have to take that one out. Don't count that machlekes. There's only 3 machlekes in the hasam kashasik leHill v'Shammai, because over there Hill agreed. Hill accepted Shammai's opinion afterwards that says that it's considered hochsher lekabel tama. Okay, one of the things that we mentioned is Yossi ben Yezer straight of Yossi ben Yechon ish Yerushalayim goes through tama al eretz am bal klis chokas. They made a decree that the land of the nations is considered tamei. Why? Because they don't bury in the cemetery; they just bury anywhere. The Gemara asks, "V'harabanan d'shmeinim shana gazer." It was the Rabbanon of 80 years before the destruction that made that decree. It wasn't Yossi ben Yezer. How does this work? Dam Rav Kana says, Kishachala Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi. When Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi was sick, Sholchalai, they sent him, Rabbi, Amr lanu beis v'gimel dvarim she'amarta mishum avicha. Tell us 2-3 things that you said in the name of your father. Shalach lehem. He sent to them, Kacha marabba. My father said, Kuf pei shana ad shleicharav abayas. 180 years before the temple was destroyed. Pashta Malchus Arashal Yisrael. The wicked kingdom spread over Israel. I guess Rome. 180 years. Would be. It wasn't the. It wasn't yet the Roman Empire. It was still whatever it's called over there. Republic or whatever. What was Rome before it was the empire, before Caesar? It's 180 years. Caesar, I think, was like 33 or 33. Okay, so 180 years before this, they spread over. So it's not Rome. 180 years, it would be Greece. It would be Greece. They spread their hands over Israel. But 80 years before the destruction, they made a decree. 80 years before the destruction, let's say the destruction was near 70. This is 10 BCE. There's a missing year. It's really 9, whatever, because there's no 0. So it went from 1 to 1. So it was 80 years before that they made this decree. 40 years before that, the Sanhedrin left the Beis Hamikdash and it went to a place called Chanuyas. It wasn't on the place of the temple, and they weren't able to do certain things. The Gemara says, "L'may hilchasa." What is significant about that teaching? Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi says, that means that they weren't able to institute a fine on anyone. Which is dini knasis ksal kadaita. You think they couldn't institute a fine because they weren't on the Temple Mount? Dini nefashis needed to be on the Temple Mount. The Sanhedrin needed to be there in order for there to be capital punishment. But other things they were able to do. So when the Sanhedrin left, they weren't able to do capital punishment. Specifically, they didn't want to be obligated to do capital punishment because there was such crime going. So our question now is like this. Yosi ben Yoyezer and Yosi Ish Streda, Yosi ben Ish Yushalayim, they instituted that the lands of the nations are tamei, and on glass vessels that they become tamei. But we have a statement that it was done 80 years before the destruction. So maybe you'll say that we don't have our history right. And they lived 80 years before the temple. So for Hatanya, it's impossible. This is a very important piece right here. We have a brisa that says Hillel v'Shimon. Hillel had a son Shimon. He's not really mentioned in the Mishnayos. It goes first Hillel, then goes Gamliel, v'Shimon, and his son Shimon. Where's Rashi put this? Hillel v'Shimon. Rabban Shimon b'nai shel Hillel haya. Then Rashi says Ram Gamliel, hu Rabban Gamliel azakin, v'Shimon, hu Rab Shimon haneragim harugim malchus, v'ya'aviv shel Rabban Gamliel. Titzari l'Rabbi Shua ben Chananya. This is the father of Rabban Gamliel that Rabbi Shua ben put Rabbi Shua ben Chananya through that, like we had in Gemara Brachos. Shas Machlekes from Rabbi Elazar ben Horkenes. So this is, in other words, there's Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, that's Rabban Gamliel's son, basically like this. You have Hillel on the chart, which I don't have here. You have Hillel. You have a Shimon that's not really mentioned. That's from this Gemara. Then you have Rabban Gamliel, who's called Rabban Gamliel Hazakin. He has a son, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. This is the one that was killed. Al Kiddush Hashem. He was one of the Asara Rugi Malchus. His son is Rabban Gamliel. He's the one that had the machlekes with Rabbi Yeshua, and he's the one that died. He was the brother-in-law of Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes. His sister married Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenes. Ema Shalom was her name. They had a son. He had a son, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Reb Shimon, and they had a son, Rabbi. Okay, so far we have Hillel, Shimon, Gamliel, V'Shimon, Nagun Nesiyasan, Bifnei Habayis Meyashana. They were the last 100 years of the bias. Then there was Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, that's after the Churban, that Rabbi Yochanan asks for. And then there's Rabbi, that's after that. So, Rabbi Yossi ben Yezer is straight. Yossi ben Yochanan have a Kadmi Tuva. They were way earlier. They were before that. They were before Hillel. They were before. You can't say that they were 80 years. Hillel himself was 100 years before the Churban. They were working backwards. So. Ella asu inu gazer agusha lisreif va'avir v'leiklum. Rather, what happened was Yossi ben Yezer, Yossi ben Yochanan, they made a decree on the land of the nations that it's tamei, and that it's so tamei that if tumah touches the ground or a clod of earth, could be that that's from a grave. So that land is tamei. You have to burn that truma. But the air of that land is if you just goes into the airspace, it's still pure. Basar Rabbanan de Peshana, and then the Rabbanan of the 80 years, which is Hillel and Gazru Avira Litles. They made a decree that the air is tamei, that you tamei enough that you leave it in limbo. Okay, the next Gemara, I don't want to start. It's going to It's a little slightly complex. I just want to leave it right there. Okay.